Yeah.
Shoot. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I forgot to upload something to Canvas, but that's okay. I can do it on Thursday, probably. I'll figure it out. Yes. All right, couple quick notes before I get started. Just a heads up, I'm not going to be giving an extension for the portfolio project. We need to end the misery now, right? Sunday, we're done. We're switching to group projects. It is done. The one exception is you need to submit your URL by Sunday night, the due date. Any changes after that, it's going to invoke the 10% penalty. But, and I will put this on announcement so it's official, the write-up you're supposed to do as well, you're going to just include that in the comments like a link to your Google Doc. I'm okay if we don't do that until like Tuesday. All right, so you can just work on the coding and then take 2 days. Because the better the write-up, the easier it is for us to grade. So I would rather have you spending some time on it. Okay? So a few things about the portfolio. One, make sure you're testing it on an actual phone, all right, or some sort of media mobile device, right? Because a lot of people are forgetting this line of code right up here, right? And if you don't have this line of code at the top of your page, when it's actually on a phone, the media queries will not work. Okay? Second, we expect you to test it on at least 2 browsers. Okay? I would highly recommend Safari because so many people use it on their browser. We do not expect you to test it on multiple operating systems. Not that it should matter, but in your report, put in, hey, I tested it on these 2 browsers. Okay? People are making their lives really hard, like really, really hard. So I just want to show you a quick thing I have right here. I just need to do one more thing. Just remember what I call this main. Let me add. Okay, so I have this nice ugly page right here. It has a picture, 4 links, and 5 divs I'm going to pretend are images. Okay? First question is, in my nav, in your nav, hopefully you never see the 3 dots. You never see this link decoration on any lists that you have, list decoration on any of the lists you have. Because what style sheet automatically gets rid of list style when you have a list item in a nav? I think I heard somebody whisper it. The reset. If you're using the reset always gets rid of that. So just a quick note that most people never see. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to show people what I think is pretty straightforward flex example on my nav. So I'm going to put my style sheet back up here. All right, and what I've done is I've gone in and I got rid of the style and I put a border around things because life is easier when there's a border. Okay. And then I said, hey, I would like my navigation to be display flex direction column. So this would be my mobile view because it's first. Right? So I've now used flex. I didn't do that much because I put it in column. And what I would like to do when it gets bigger, what I would like is to have it go more this way. So I went in and I said, all right, I am also going to make my nav UL flex. And the reason I did that is now if I play with this and say, oh, well, what happens if I make this, what are some of the things you can do with flex? You can justify content, right? Well, I can never, it's actually justify. I was playing with this just as we came in, so I probably won't get it all in there. I think I forgot something. My nav, UL, display flex. Go through. Drew, help me out because you're my flex person. It is justify content, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. I remember now. I was like, why isn't this working? I was going through this early going, this doesn't work at all. Well, with flex, a lot of times things take up just as much space as they need. So look what happens when I highlight over my UL. It only takes up that much space. So what a lot of people haven't been doing is checking the width of things. Oops. All right, so now I've got that width 100%. And now I'm going to say I can have it be spaced between. Imagine these are actually your navigation links. So they're just styled more prettily than this. So you have space around, space between. You can have them all start over here or all start at the end. But that's it. That's me using flex. All I did it for was there. The grid, if I see grid column rows in your code, I'm going to be very suspicious. Because a lot of people are talking about grid column rows and never even using them. So I would like to show you really quickly how I would expect people to use grid at a minimum. In display, grid template, actually, display grid. Grid template columns, 1 FR. And then in here, and then down here, come on. All right, so just all I did was add grid on this. And as soon as I did that, you can see it's 1 column, 2 columns, hopefully 3 columns. That's all it took. People have a lot of stuff in there. Unless you have a real reason, and some of you do, I'm surprised to see so many people's code having span. Right? In most cases, people's everything's taking up one little grid column, then that's all you need. Okay, so if you're still struggling with this, my recommendation is probably going to be to delete 97% of your code. Display grid template columns 1FR. On the other one you have 1FR, 1FR, and on the other one you have 1FR, 1FR, 1FR. The important thing is some of you are so close to being done and you're getting caught up on things that the rest of us can't see. Like someone came in and it wasn't quite centered. Again, it's time to let it go. You know, we're gonna get this portfolio done, check the rubric, and kind of go from there. The third thing, in the homework that's coming up, I don't know why it broke. Quick note, I would listen to this just in case you're doing this. Now that we're using JavaScript, I highly recommend putting the console in the same window. Otherwise, you spend a lot of time looking for it. Okay? Not sure why I'm not drawing. I'll figure that out in a second. But the most important thing, actually, yeah, that's going to bother me if I don't know why I'm not drawing. I will figure that out later. All right, so 2 things. 1, you need to listen for the keys, right? Who here is using whoever has started, who here is using key press? Anybody? Okay. Key press on a lot of, like, at least on Chrome, doesn't always recognize the up arrow and the down arrow. All right, so when you come and start doing this and you start listening for keys and things like that, I recommend you use key down. The event you should be listening for is key down. So right here, I had my window. Shoot, hold on a second. Did I remember? Okay, good, I'm taping. Key down, and then I listen. So can someone explain to me, what is this E? Even just what it stands for. Does anyone know what the E stands for, and why is it E and not C? Does anyone any idea why this is an E? Why they called it E and not C? What is it? Here, I thought we were going to finish early. Good. All right. No one has any guess why it's called E? Yeah. Because it's an event. Yep, that E, when we add a listener, whenever we add a listener, and we use this syntax right here, we say, hey, this is the event we're going to listen for, and here's the function we're going to run. When you just use the word function and you're not declaring something else, this is called kind of like an anonymous function. We're not giving it a name. And the thing that is important is this function right here knows everything about this key down. All right? Just like up ahead, where we have E up there, that means it knows everything about the mouse move. So I'm going to go back here for a second. And you can see as I move my mouse around, I said log this. So when I check, it can tell me where my X is, where in the screen, where the X position is and the Y position. When I do the key presses, I'm going to do B. In this case, what is the event? The event is that I press the keyboard. So someone mentioned, and I'm happy people are looking things up, someone mentioned that they found a place to look up all the key codes. Right? Just so you know, you don't need to do that. You don't need to know all the key codes. All you need to do is go, all right, I'm going to hit the letter B. All right, I now know that the key code for B is 66. I'm now going to hit Y. And I now know the key code for Y is 89. All right, so you don't need to look up a lot of stuff for this homework. All right, if you're doing the console, not only does the console give you the answer, I think it helps you understand what is exactly going on with these events a little bit better. Okay? So the third listener that you need to add is you need to listen for changes on the color picker. I gave you a color picker. So my suggestion for that is this. go look at the 5 JavaScript challenges we did last week. Remember, I gave you the code, the answer's there, all the HTML's in 1 file, or in 5 files, and all the JavaScript is in 5 files. And what we did is we went in and we added listeners. We didn't use any E's. You don't need an E. There's no event that you need to listen for on the color picker. Instead, you're just like, hey, someone's going to click on this color picker. What is the key word that you use to know more about an event? In Python, it was self. What's the key word in JavaScript? This, right? So before, where I was doing console.log, E, I would highly recommend you do something along the lines of console.log this. Okay? The second piece of information you need is when we went back and we did those JavaScript challenges, what were some of the things we looked at? We looked at whether things are checked. We looked at enabled. But the number 1 attribute you use if you want to know what someone typed in is what? Does anyone remember what that attribute is for when you type it in? We used that when we were comparing like the billing and the home address. All right, any takers on what the attribute is? Yes. Yes, it was value. Ian, and let me see if I, please give 2 points to Ray. All right, thank you. All right, so people then seem really good on the JavaScript. No one has any questions on that. I'm going to go ahead and go on then. So today we're going to do jQuery. Why, other than it's a wonderful learning experience, should you all care about jQuery as students? What is due in 2 weeks? A jQuery homework. All right? So in 2 weeks, so there's nothing due. There's something due this Sunday, and then there's nothing due the following Sunday. But in 2 weeks, you are going to do a jQuery homework. All right? And that jQuery homework is to simply go, not simply, but it's to go through those 5 challenges where I already gave you the answer and redo the challenges using jQuery. Okay? So I know today I'm only going to have a minimum level of people paying attention to me, so I'm going to cover somewhat the minimum level, but we do have hands-on things to do. Okay? So who here has used jQuery before? Anybody? I really love this class because there's way fewer like professional developers sitting in here because it kills the vibe. So yay that you all haven't used jQuery before. All right? And if you've ever had Dr. Chuck for class, at some point I think I told you he's going to say, oh, there's no point in learning JavaScript. Just learn jQuery. That's all you need. I think it's way easier to read JavaScript for the first time than jQuery, but all it is a library. Remember when we made you do things in Python in 206 and it was really hard and then later they taught you there was a library to do it and you were really mad? Like, why did they make me do this when there was a library? Same thing here, okay? So what we've got, jQuery is just a JavaScript library. So number 1, and everyone will forget this, that's okay, we'll help you with it. Number 1, you have to include a link to the jQuery library for things to work. All right? Gotta remember to do that. All right? jQuery is better than JavaScript in that you can do more stuff in less lines of code. But I think it's harder to read. Okay? So, one of the first problems you all ran into in JavaScript was if you put your script code at the top, right? And it's like, hey, do something with this element. It's like, well, this element doesn't exist yet. I fail. All right. So what jQuery has done is jQuery kind of, I can't click on things. jQuery says, hey, as soon as this document is ready, which means it's been fully loaded, all right? I don't care when this gets called, wait until the document is fully loaded. As soon as it's fully loaded, what do I want you to do? I want you to look for all the p tags. all right? And we're going to add a listener to all those p tags, all right? What are we going to be listening for? Wow, nobody, even after I gave 2 points to it. What are we listening for? Yeah. That's it. It says, hey, add a click listener to every single paragraph. And when that happens, when you click on something, what does the word this mean again? Yeah, itself. So it says, all right, anytime you click on a p tag, we're going to hide it. So this dot hide is basically the same thing as saying document.query selector p.style.display equals none. All right. So in jQuery, they gave you keywords you could use as well. Then this is always followed by a ridiculous number of curly bracket parentheses that I can never keep track of. So this one matches the first function. Sorry, my mouse is unhappy. Nope. This one matches the first couple, and then this one matches the end. All right. So, oops. I might just go out of here. I'm going to go right here. All right, so I took it straight from here. So it went through, it added listeners to all these. So if I click on this, they all went away. All right, so there's a small problem. How do I get them back? Right? You actually can't. So what we're going to do today is talk about some more that are a little bit more interesting. And I'm going to go back and forth, and you're going to do some in W3 schools. All right, so one of the things I said you need to do, I'm just going to leave this open because it's bothering me. Bless you. Is you have to include the jQuery library. All right, so the easiest thing to do is don't download it. Don't download libraries like jQuery or Bootstrap or even Font Awesome. Instead, you want to do something called using a CDN, a Content Delivery Network. Okay? Know that acronym, because if you go on a job interview, they're going to be like, oh, what CDN is? And you'll be like, oh, yeah. All right. You need to know that acronym. It's a general geeky acronym. The reason you would use a CDN, which is just a link to the latest version, is that you now don't need to keep track of when jQuery gets updated. It's always going to link to the most recent. Now, this also means there's going to be a slight pause, very slight, while you connect. All right. It might be faster if you would actually download all the code, but again, then you have to copy it and make sure you have access every place. So here's the big clue. If in your console you get an error about it doesn't understand what $ means, you forgot to link to the CDN. All of you at some point will get some error like, I don't know what $ means. If it doesn't understand $, then you don't have jQuery. Okay? So here's the syntax. All right. You need to select things. And I apologize, I should get rid of there's of course no actual circle in front of it. So we've already done selectors. In query selector, we did that, right? With query selector, if we just put text, that meant I'm looking for this tag. If you put a hashtag, it meant you were looking for this ID, this element with a particular ID. If we wanted to get all of the classes, we had to do query selector all. You don't need to do that in jQuery. You can just do the dot for the class. So the $ always means use jQuery. The selector is, hey, what it is you want me to look for in the DOM. And then the action is what you're, kind of, hey, in this case, what you want to do. All right, so this dot hide means, oh, hide me. Whatever just happened, hide me. P dot hide means hide all of the paragraph elements. So we wrote media queries for this. Remember when we wanted to hide all of the images in the mobile view? This is kind of on the same idea, like, hey, I want to hide everything. The dot test hide means look for everything that has class equals test, and by hide it, we mean set the display to none. All right? And then here is hide the element with the ID equals test. If you accidentally in your code have multiple things with the ID equals test, It will only hide the first one. Okay? This line right here is just something to learn, right? This is just, it's one, you know how I always use my HTML, my percent tab, so it fills in the whole HTML document for me? I do the same thing with document ready. If I'm doing a homework, I actually write it down off to the side, and I just do copy and paste all the time because I typo it so badly. All right? What it does, though, the important thing is it keeps it from running any of the code. Because remember how in JavaScript you got errors? In jQuery, you don't always get errors. It just runs, right? Even though none of the things existed yet. All right, so this is what I want you all to do. You might not have the notes down. If not, that's okay. But I would like you to go to w3schools.com/jQuery and then go to /jQuery selectors. I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then I'll bring it back here. Because I can't make this part better. All right. When you go here, what I'd like you to do is scroll, scroll, scroll. And do these exercises. All right. There are 6 exercises off here to the side. I would like you to do all 6. All right. So let's go back here so you can see it. I'm going to set so it's jQuery.com/jQuery, and then that's jQuery_selectors. And I'm going to set my watch for 5 minutes. And you absolutely, I know most of your work in the portfolio, it is totally worth getting through these 12 exercises we're going to do today. Okay, so hand, drew, and like that. Did everyone find these? Okay, so it's w3schools.com/jQuery, and there's an underscore selectors here. Notice it ends in .asp, or to be honest, you can also just Google, probably, w3schools jQuery selector. There you go. And then if you scroll down, to the bottom, that's you. Scroll, scroll. It says test yourself with exercises. So if you can't find it, raise your hand and we'll come by and help you find it right now. Did anybody not find it? Who needs help finding it? Okay. Everyone found it then? All right, how did number 1 go? What's the answer for number 1? P. Yay. All right, because that was really it. But hey, you are now jQuery programmers. Congratulations. Add it to your resume for your summer internships, right? All right, so let's go to the next one. ID test, what are we going to use? Hashtag test. Oops. So this, by the way, let's submit answer. This is really important, this hashtag, because I know that some of you have been using IDs to jump from within your page, and you have to remember hashtag for the IDs and dot for the classes. So speaking of which, I'm going to assume the next answer is with the class test. Oops, I showed it. All right, what about, how do you hide all the elements? It's the asterisk. And this is what we did for a way earlier homework. I think it was homework 4, when we said, make sure everything can go into, like everything that's in focus has a border around it. We use that asterisk. It's the universal symbol. And just as a side note, this will not be on a test, but actually it might be on one of them. The universal symbol, it has a specificity of 0. All right, it is the lowest ranked kind of CSS. Okay, how do you do this one? Who got this one right away? Who said, oh, there's a show answer button right in the bottom right-hand corner. Like, do people look at that? Yeah, like, that's what I like about W. So this one is kind of nice, and this is also for some people who've been having trouble styling their forms. This is a legitimate selector, right? In fact, you can even put things in here where you have href. Oh, it won't let me hide answer. Technically, if you only want to hide everything that has an href with like that ends in .edu, you can even do it that way. All right. Next. Oh, okay. Oh man, you're like homework 2. You're making me do stuff. Is this homework 2 or homework 3? Let's make it homework 3. You're making us do. You mean the homeworks we did are actual things we might have to know later on? Yeah, this would be it. All right. So the same kind of idea is we don't want to do all the table rows. We just want to do the ones that are odd. This one does look a little different because I don't think we just did tr odd. We are tr nth child, but the same kind of idea. Okay. Let's grab it so I don't have to type it in. All right, and then the last one. So, hey, we know how to get all the paragraphs, and we know how to hide them. So in this case, what we're looking for is all the things that have a click. Okay. Oh, did I jump? Oh, I accidentally jumped to events. That was why. Okay. So let me go back here to my notes for a second. Actually, we'll go ahead and do these ones. I'm going to stop my timer for another 3 minutes. And I'd like you to do exercise 1 through 5 on events. I know that you now know you can see the answer, but give it like a shot before you click on it. 3 minutes, not 10. And if you had any trouble with those, they did not work, raise your hand right now so we can come back and find you. I'm going to close this for a second. Sorry. Okay. Let's go back to events. So on these, oh, it didn't let me keep it. Okay. So the tricky part here, it's not even necessarily that tricky, but as you go through, is sometimes, here I have p.click here. So all I'm doing is waiting to look at that one. Exercise 2, same idea. Who knew there was a double click, but there is, right? We can do double click. Let's go here. D-L, click. I'm trying to get to one later on. Mouse enter. All right, from the challenges, which one used mouse enter? Does anyone remember which of any of the challenges used mouse enter? Think back to the 5 challenges, and I'm a little offended if you don't remember my adorable dog. But the gallery, remember when you were moving the mouse and my dog's face would show up and things like that. So we're going to be using this one in the homework. All right. And then this is the one that I thought was a little tricky. Oh, no, not this one. Key press was the last one. Here, they're actually looking for the word click as well because they've kind of set it up a little bit differently. All right. My goal for you is not to memorize the click, double click, mouse enter, but for you to know, oh, these things exist. When it comes time to do the homework, I'm going to run back to this page right here, the W3 Schools, because they do a pretty good job of explaining it. Okay? So one of the things that I do find tricky, and that I don't think you can understand necessarily straight from the reading, is this idea of events versus effects. So events are the things like the click, and the double click, and the mouse over, and the mouse leave. The effects are things that you can do. So some of the effects that we can do are hide, show, toggle, and then you can slide, fade, and animate. All right? So when you see this syntax, it's going to look a little different because instead of just saying hide, which we've done, paragraph to hide, you can also tell it if you want a speed, how fast you want it to hide or show. You can also say, have something called a callback, which is like, and here's another function I want you to do while I'm waiting. So you don't need to go here. I'm just going to show it to you. All right. So what we've got over here, so here's my goal. After half an hour in class, oops, clicked on it, despite only slightly paying attention, does this line of code actually make sense to you? I'm not saying you would write it yourself, but does this little bit of code right here actually make sense to you? Document.ready function that says, wait till the page is loaded. Once the page is loaded, what are we going to be listening for? What elements are we listening for? Are we adding listeners to? All the buttons, all right? What are we listening for? We're listening for someone to click on them. Now, up to here, I'm going to change this for a second. We were using the word this a lot. So when I would click on this, oops, good, it won't even do it. I'll get back to that. It would actually hide itself. Right? When we use the word this, it actually hides itself. But we don't want to do that because the worst thing about hiding something that we're listening to is we can never listen to it again. Right? So now, this is when I click this, anything that's got a button, I want you to hide all the paragraph tags. See this 1000 right here? We don't need that. Let me get rid of it. What the 1000 does is it gives you a speed. It lets you animate stuff. See how it kind of went a little slower? You can make it 5000. It's even slower, maybe a little too annoyingly slow, things like that. Or you can go pretty fast. All right. I'm going to do this just for a second. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to copy it 3 times. Okay. I want you to notice now, does it matter which button I hit? I've got 3 buttons now. Does it matter which one I hit? Nope. It's listening to all of them. Okay? So when you're doing the jQuery homework, you're going to be able to put a listener on just a single image, and it'll work on all of the images. Okay. So that was kind of the going fast and slow. Who here is going to go on and do more programming classes? Who's like, okay. So you should watch this slide. All right, I've got this, and I have got this one. This is about using something called callback functions. All right, so if you look, I have the same code, right? Hey, hide. There's actually keywords slow and fast, so you can give it a number or you can give it a... But look at here, this is where I'm adding a callback functions. All right, so I'm going to click on this for a second. And if you notice, everything disappeared, and then the paragraph showed up, and then the alert showed up. So everything disappeared first, and then it ran this function. Okay? So this code looks very similar. All right, doesn't it? Only difference is, instead of having the alert inside a function, it's second. So I'm going to run this. Did you notice what happened first? Which happened first in this case? People are looking down, so I'm going to do it again. So in this case, when I hit hide, the alert comes first. And then after I make the alert go away, this disappeared. In this case, it's a little different. When I hit hide, it disappeared, and then the alert came up. So callback functions actually let you determine what's going to happen first. So it might be the case that you need to wait on some sort of extra information. So you're going to say, don't go on and keep running my code until I hear back. All right, so that's just a little tiny example of callback functions, but you'll be seeing those in some of the more advanced programming classes. If you're done programming, save no brain space for that at all. Okay? All right. None of you care about this right now because you're all looking at your homework. All right. Okay. I'm not done, but I just wanted to kind of tell you, the stuff I'm showing you today, it's just like a taste of what it means to go from this class to being what we would call more of like a real web developer, all right? You would have to be like kind of excited about what you're seeing here, like, oh, you mean I can do this more quickly? You mean I can do it more efficiently? What happens if I add an event with an effect with another event, all right? So the thing is, you can now use a lot of jQuery functions, but the only way it's really going to work for you is if you go back and you remember things like, all right, how do function definitions work? How do I concatenate strings? How do I run a loop? All right. If you're not comfortable with like the really basic programming concepts, jQuery is going to be a little overwhelming. All right. So what I've made for you first is, let me see if I can open it. Go back here. All right. Open all these for a second. So things you can use with jQuery. All right. First one. I'm not going to show you all the code. I'm going to upload this. I'm sorry I forgot to upload today. You can add like typewriter type text. Oops, didn't mean to do that one. All right. I did that mostly with, hey, how many letters are there? So I can change my text to wake up. Go back here. It's a matter of knowing, hey, how many things are in this element? I like this one. If you're trying to do something where you're trying to be really accessible, you can go in and you can take all the classes off something. So in the homework, in the video homework, which some of you are going to be unhappy about, one of the requirements was that you're supposed to add and remove that grayscale class. Right? You're supposed to add and remove it so the video went back and forth. So hopefully most of you notice that there is something called toggle class. So the same thing happens in jQuery. You can toggle things. Is anyone here using a progress bar in their web page by any chance? Some people like to use it on if they're having an online resume, like not a PDF, but an actual online resume. Some people like to add little progress bars. It'll have like how much skill they have in the various. I'm like a 5 out of 5 in HTML and a 4 out of 5. But you can use these progress bars. So typically when you have a progress bar, it just shows the progress. Or think of the volume slider, right? It was just at 100%. You can actually use jQuery to animate all your bars, all right? And it's because there's actually a, animate function with jQuery. All right, I like the next one. Oh, some of you might want to steal this one, all right, for yours. So normally when you print something, what do we have to do on your web pages? How do you usually print? You usually go to like File, Print, things like that. You can actually use jQuery to add a print function. This would have been prettier if I made it a button instead of a link, but I didn't have to go and do the file, print, or anything like that. You can just give somebody a print function. This one, let me show it to you first. So in this one, I have 3 links, all right? But on each one of my links, I included a function called hide, all right? And I didn't have to do anything on it. And what's kind of cool about this one is it will automatically go through your page and remove any links that are broken. Like one of my links didn't actually go anywhere. It'll just go through and find your broken links for you and remove them. I think a lot of you might want to steal this at some point. This is the animated scroll that you've already done in class, but you can use it in jQuery. So, let me make my page skinny. So I'm scrolling. Oh, I'm at the bottom of the page. I can now click on go to top, and it'll go back up. This is pretty easy code down here. There's all my content. And what I said was, hey, remember what we just did in W3 Schools? Please find the one link that goes to the top. Don't do all the hrefs, just the one that says go to the top. If someone clicks on it, well, I actually want to animate, scroll all the way to the top of the page. And I can make this slow or fast. Or I can give it a number. I'm going to give it 3,500 apparently. And we can refresh it. That number didn't work. All right. Right, so you can make things go faster. So I have one more example for you, I think. Oh, this again was just similar to, actually it's the same one, it's the typing one. It's a different one, it's still typing. All right, let me get your attention for a second. Let's think about challenge 1, shall we? Does this look familiar? Yeah? So what were we supposed to do? We were supposed to click on this and it's supposed to open and close. And in your code, you had, hey, if it's selected, make it block. If it's not selected, make it none. You're going back and forth. So let's talk about how we would do this in jQuery. Step number 1, you have to remember to include this line of code. This line is linking to jQuery. Make sure you have something that starts with Ajax that says, hey, I want to use jQuery. All right. Real quick, based on this code, what is the name of the thing I am listening to? What do I want to listen to? I want to listen to that checkbox. So how do I listen to a checkbox? What ID am I listening for? Subscribe, yep. I'm going to go back down here. All right, hey. What do I want to do? I want to listen for the subscribe button. Why do I have the hashtag here? Because it's an ID. What am I listening for? I'm listening for a click. Okay? And then what did I say I wanted to kind of make appear and disappear, depending on the value of the select box? What's the idea of the thing I want to change? So I'm adding a listener to subscribe, but I'm going to add an effect to a different element. What's that element? Yes, Ian, your hand was up. Which element am I listening for?
Am I allowed to know?
Yes, you're allowed to answer it.
Oh, sorry, I was just stretching.
Yes, I know, but I'm nailing you anyway for that one. Yes, so if you remember, here we go. We wanted to make this appear and disappear. So which ID am I listening for? Email field. All right. So I said, hey, I want to listen to subscribe. If somebody clicks on it, please toggle the email field. Do I need to check as to whether it's on or off anymore? No, we didn't have this in JavaScript. We had .style.display equals block, .style.display equals none. We had to do that. Now we get to just say, I would like to toggle this, please. And I can do it fast or slow. That's fast. Let's see. That was slow. All right. So here's my question. This is your chance. Before you even start thinking about the homework at all or working on your own, is there anything up here that doesn't make sense? I would not expect you after one lecture to be like, oh, and type all this in, right? But I would expect you to go to W3 Schools and say, oh, we just did some examples just like this. I just made things hide. What would happen if instead of click I had, can't remember if it was mouse enter or mouse over. I'm going to change it for a second. Oh, I actually got a reaction from someone on that one, right? So people normally think of clicking, but you could even, I have mouse over or mouse enter. So here's my question. Does anyone want me to talk about any line of that again? At all? Do you feel like, okay, she gave us some complete answers to the first, for doing it in JavaScript? Yes, Oh, that's a great question. Right here, right? The $sign. So the $sign is all part of the jQuery syntax, right? So the dollar, as soon as it sees the $sign, and this is why in JavaScript, in one of the opening slides, I said, do not start any of your variables with a $sign because it's going to assume you want jQuery here. So the $sign says, oh, I'm about to do some jQuery commands. So because you asked about that, I'm actually going to comment out my link to jQuery. I'm going to open this, inspect. If I go to console, this is the error that you're going to get. Uncaught error, $sign is not defined. Right? This is the error you're going to see all the time. And we're going to say, oh, you forgot to link to jQuery. And you're going to be like, oh, I did it on challenges 1, 2, and 3. I just forgot on number 4. Okay? So that $sign is all part of the jQuery syntax. Okay? Anyone else? So I'm just going to do a quick look here. All right, actually I'm going to show you this one because this one's a little bit trickier. You are going to have to look up how you change properties. So, in fact, I think I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to put it in I'm going to put it in Canvas later today for like kind of after action thingies. What this code does, it's just different. It's annoying. In JavaScript, we learned like .style.display, whatever, right? We learned about filters. Instead of value, they use val, V-A-L. Okay? You also don't use the equal sign, right? Before we had one thing equals another, and we use the value. Here, we actually use a function. Or sorry, a method. We use a method to say, I would like to set the value of home. What would I like to set it to? Please find this thing right here. So I will post these 2 lines of code in Canvas under recap for today. All right? So don't wait. How many days? I mean, I think you have like almost 20 days before this homework is due. Please don't wait 19 days. Because you're like, oh, the first one was really easy. It is meant to be pretty straightforward, but the syntax is just a little bit different. Every place you used to see document.querySelector, think about every place you used to see document.querySelector, you now replace that with a $sign. Okay, that $ basically stands for document.query selector for you. All right, I'm just going to do a quick peek. No. No. All right, this one, I put a ton of notes in here. This one is actually a super easy question now, but you're going to be using a lot of this. All right, so in class on Thursday, we are going to be doing, in discussion this week, it's going to be a Q&A. It is not a Q&A about your GSIs and their lives and dreams. Thank you for telling me that's what you were worried I was asking you to do. No, it's a Q&A, unless you all feel like it. It's a Q&A about the homework, all right? They can't sit with each person individually. I don't know if you're going to actually use a Google Doc or go by people's names, but I'm going to leave that up to you. But it's a matter of, hi, what question are you having? Oh, he's having trouble getting this up. And then you'll go up to the front of the room and they will explain, this is how we solve this. So it's not a one-on-one debugging, because then we never get to everybody. Okay? Thursday in class, however, if you haven't seen it already, I just posted it in Slack. And I don't know what is going to pop up if I go on here, so let me do this. Close this. Close that. I had a sign-up sheet for Thursday in class. Maybe I can find it. We're going to be going around. There's 3. I have a few extra in the morning because I can come in early, I think. It's a sign-up sheet, and we're going to go through and help people based on the sign-up sheet. You can't sign up for more than one slot. If you don't get a spot, there's still going to be a 3rd GSI or myself walking around. Sorry, I'm almost there. Oh, and my battery's going to die just in time. Yes. Thank you, I will. In 1 second, I'm going to stop recording. But if you look, you can sign up. There'll be GSIs or myself. There's going to be 3 going around, just going boom, 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 boom. Your 5 minutes, your 5 minutes, your 5 minutes. 4th person will be